I grew up in a small town in Tennessee, and like I was basically, my dad wanted me to become, like Marvin and Son, in construction, and I just had a different idea. I wanted more out of life, and so I joined the U.S. Navy. Let me share my screen real quick here. So this is just a little bit of the day in the life of what I did. I was in U.S. Navy Special Operations, and that has to do with Navy SEALs, deep sea diving, and explosive ordnance disposal. And so you can kind of look at kind of like what I was doing. Well, now, if you were to have gone back to Hickson, Tennessee, and ask any of my teachers, I was the least likely to succeed at anything because I was an F- student. I just couldn't figure out why in the world I couldn't fish all day instead of sitting in a hard chair desk listening to grammar or something. And so when I got into the U.S. Navy, I advanced up to special operations, and they had an entirely different process of training. And that's really what my big message to you is. Training became my manifesto. It's a declaration, because what they did in special operations, they made you, they gave you the theory, but then you had to do it over and over and over and over. And the rule of thumb was you drill it until you can't do it wrong. And when you get that idea, then nothing can stop you. If you get the idea that I can't do this, well, you can't. You will not. You'll fumble all over yourself. You have to get that mindset of, hey, I'm going to drill this until I can't do it wrong. And so that was the basic thing. And then at some point, probably like about 11 years, 10 years or so, I began to think about wanting to have a family, but I had no skill set to even have a wife or kids, because no girl would ever want me, truly, because I was kicking in doors, I was clearing houses, bad guys, things like that, defusing bombs. And so it was, I needed to get another profession. And so, but that was the only skill set that I had. I happened to hit a, this is actually about a year before I joined network marketing. Okay. So that dog right there is called Buckshot. And she used to jump out of airplanes with me. So I answered an ad in the newspaper, in the Washington Post. And this is literally what the ad, let me put my pointer on here. So this, that's not it. Sorry, laser pointer. Okay. So you can see that this is $20,000 a month, top salesperson needed, wear Italian tailor-made suits, drive a fancy European sports car. If you have the courage to call, it can make you rich. And then it said, we'll train. Well, that was the only thing that I looked at. All these other ads said 3 years experience required, things like that. And so I didn't have any experience in sales, even though my last name was Sales. I did not change my name. That was my daddy's name. And so I answered that ad, and that gentleman happened to ask me to, I'm trying to get the right laser pointer. There we go. All right. And so I answered this ad, and the gentleman invited me to a meeting with a professor, a chemist at NIH. He had 2 PhDs. He was on the Star Wars project, and that's not the movie. That's actually shooting from the sky. war. And so during his presentation, he put down this transparency on those old projectors, and it was a check of his where he was making $88,000 for the month. Well, that pretty much blew my mind, and that was all that I ever heard in that whole presentation, because I was sitting there thinking I should go to school, go to college. Now, you got to remember, I did not like school, but I wanted to have a family, and I wanted to be able to support that family. So that was the scenario that I was sitting in, and that was the problems that I had in my life at that particular time. And when he said $88,000 a month, I thought immediately, why would I learn anything else? That was the concept that I had, because if I went to school and I got a PhD or 2 PhDs, still this guy was in network marketing. All right. And so that was kind of my start, and I took off. So during that time, and even today, it's the same scenario. The fate of 95% of Americans is that from the age you enter any profession up to 25 years of age, that's all the increase you're ever going to get. Okay, so of 95%, will only get cost of living increases, and I'm talking about 3 to 5%. And then they're going to retire and earn 1/2 to 2/3 of what they already think wasn't enough. Okay, so that is typically what the scenario looks like out there for the average person. So not only that, but 74% of Americans hate their jobs, and 50% are broke. In other words, they can't pay their bills. And so they're just going deeper and deeper and deeper in debt. And that was what I was looking at even then, and it's still the same here. So 5 years later, I joined that company. I was basically, I hit $150,000 a month. Now that guy's benchmark of $88,000 a month, I didn't know if I could hit that, but I was going to drill the right things until I couldn't do it wrong. And so I hit $150,000 a month. And then I retired for 18 years, as Todd talked about there. I consulted a couple of hundred network marketing companies because of the brilliant compensation. It put a focus on me, and then people would ask me, companies would ask me, top leaders would ask me to talk at their events and consult them and things like that. And so I figured out that the worst business in the world is consulting, because they want you to basically build the entire system of growth. They want all the assets and everything. And so why in the world would I get paid $100,000 or $150,000 like one time to do something like that? And so consulting, I was like, that was the stupidest thing in the world. And so I don't know how I got into it, just people asking me to do stuff. But I decided that I was going to come back into the industry and build again, and I did. And so in that, I had $57 million earners, 5,401 earning $250,000 or more. And so and that's basically where we are now. So Partner Co. has become, in my opinion, remember 200 different companies that I was a consultant for, it has the best management team, the best executive team I've ever seen in my life. They just do things right. They do it in a way that is extremely professional. And I'm just so happy that John and Darren purchased the company that Todd and I were building, and because it has changed everything. So during that time, I'm just going to walk you through this. During that time that I was in retirement, the Wall Street Journal reached out to me, Washingtonian. By the way, I declined the Wall Street Journal because they were doing a hit piece. The editor said, can you tell me somebody who was successful in regular business but couldn't make it in network marketing? And so I knew that they were doing a spin story on the whole thing. And I said, you can't use any of my content. So brilliant compensation there in the center. That was the video that I recorded. I just purely did it to pay back to the woodpile that I had pulled from. In other words, network marketing had changed my life, and I wanted people to understand it far more than what people were saying out there. All right. So then I taught at the University of Illinois at Chicago. That was an interesting story because there was a professor, Charles King. He was from Harvard, but he was a tenured professor at the University of Illinois at Chicago. And I did a meeting in Chicago, and this guy came up to me and started talking to me. And he said, I've never looked at network marketing. I've never seen it as a business model. But what you just said, if it's true, then this is the best industry for students coming out of college to go into. And then he invited me. He got approval from the dean of the school. And here I am at Hamburger University teaching. Now, remember, I was an F- student. My mom would have fallen over if she knew what I was actually doing. And so there I am with Larry King, and then recently Grant Cardone on Network Marketing Moguls. So there you go. That kind of gives you a background of what I did and what I'm doing today. All right. So I want to walk you through this incredible industry. I'm going to introduce it to you in a different way. All right. Because there's a whole lot of conversations that go on out there. And if you really just wanted to evaluate and look around, you could see that there's only two primary ways that people accept ideas. And number one is because of they are an authority. All right. So an authority, let's just say there's a professor that's talking to you, or there is a business owner that's talking to you. So that person gives you an idea, and let's say a professor, he says, okay, so this is true, and it's true because he's an authority. And that is how people accept ideas into their minds. And the second way that you do that, or that people accept things, is the preponderance of agreement amongst other people. And so when you've got Google and you've got CNN, MSNBC, Fox, magazines, friends, family, things like that, if they agree of something, okay, so what is reality and who's creating the reality? Well, the media is creating the reality. They have an agenda. Somebody has an agenda back of all of the stories that you see, what's in the magazines. And they call it the rule of three. And what that means is that if you go to Google and ask a question, and then you see that same thing on CNN or Fox or anything, and then you see it in a magazine, let's say, well, that you agree with it then. Okay? It doesn't mean it's true. It's a created reality. And so back in 1975, the Federal Trade Commission filed a lawsuit against Amway Corporation. And Amway, basically, they went for about 5 years in legal battle, but the media was saying pyramid scheme, pyramid scheme, pyramid scheme, pyramid scheme. For 5 years, they said it. Okay? At the end of that, the Federal Trade Commission lost that case. Amway won. It was not a pyramid scheme, but in the minds of people, it was a pyramid scheme. You get the idea of that. They created that reality. The word reality simply means if you agree to it, that's it. Okay? It doesn't mean it's true. Doesn't mean it's false. It's just how the what reality looks like. All right. So in competition to that, what I'm going to show you here is what network marketing really is. Okay. So, and this is also going to give you a perspective on how you can compare to any business that you would want to go into, whether you want to be an employee or you want to own the business. All right. So I'm talking about product-based businesses here. I'm not talking about service-based industry. Service-based would be cutting hair, painting fingernails, you know, that kind of stuff. I'm not doing that because you're trading time for money there. With a product-based business, you can basically run off, I don't know, 1 million units of something. Let's just say like the Vanali or any other product. You can have a large quantity selling out there, where if you're in service-based, you're talking about time exchanged for money. So in product-based businesses, these are going to be columns across here. You start off, every product-based business starts off with raw resources, and we're talking about soil that turns into minerals. You talk about plants that turns into vitamins. You talk about animals, turns into meat, milk, and so forth. So then you get into taking that raw resource and then manufacturing it. All right. And so there's your veggies, your vitamins, your herbs, your spice, meat, so forth. Then you're going to move that into branding. And remember, you can be in raw resources. You can be in the industry of manufacturing. You can be in the industry of branding. And that's going to be the marketing, the legal, the license, packaging, countries, and different languages. And then you move over to logistics, where they put it in a warehouse, they pick, pack, and then ship it to all countries. I skipped a column here, and I'm going to come back to it, but then there's a customer service. You can be in that. That's returns, complaints, restocking. All right. And so what's missing? The acquisition. Okay. All companies have these options. Okay. How you acquire the customer for a brick and mortar store or online store or being a sales rep. So all companies have those three options. Okay. And what does acquisition do? They acquire customers. They serve customers. That's different than customer service. Serve customers means you help them get the result they wanted by buying the product. They bought a product, so you're going to help them get the result that they wanted. And then why would you want to do that? Well, you get the highest margins of any of these columns. You get the highest margins and you have the most security. Now, I always get pushback on this most security thing, but so I'm going to explain it to you. Why is that the case? Because where does the CEO of any company get his paycheck? Only from the sales reps. The only people who are swiping credit cards are the sales reps. And so who is more important, the CEO or the acquisition team, the sales reps? Acquisition team. And so that's why you have the most security. I had a guy with his parents came up to me and asked, what would you recommend my son do? Should he go to college? Should he do this? And should he do that? And I said, well, I think the very most stable thing that you could ever do would be to learn acquisition, because it's the highest margins. It's the most security. Every single company has to have an acquisition team. And all schools have to have an acquisition team. Everybody has to have an acquisition team. So here's the scenario that I wanted. I want to do this column right here, acquisition. I want a partner who's going to do all the raw resources, the manufacturing, the branding, logistics, and the customer service. I want them to be substantial. Okay. I don't want them to be a fly-by-night affiliate program or something like that. I want them to be substantial. I want them devoted to the product that they create. Okay. And I want to partner with them. All right. Now, I've been saying partner with them for decades. And it just so happens this company named itself Partner Co. And so it worked perfect for me. Now, when you're in the acquisition world, what the sales rep wants to know is, what are they willing to pay in commissions and benefits for acquisition? And that is the competition. Okay. And so whether it's Procter & Gamble, whether it's Partner Co., sales reps are looking for commission and benefits. That's what they're looking for. Okay. So in the world of acquisition, it's very simple. All right. And when I say simple, I'm talking about how and what you do in acquisition. So on the left-hand side here, you have lead. What is a lead? It's a name. It's something if you pull up your phone and you see your contacts, that's a lead. All right. And so then you contact that lead. There's only 4 ways to get prospects: warm outreach plus referrals, cold outreach, that means you don't know them, post content, and advertise. Every industry has these same 4 simple concepts of where do you get your leads from. And then what you're going to do is you're going to contact them. You're going to set an appointment for them to see a presentation. And then you're going to follow up 7 times. Statistically, I have not seen any advantage of following up 8 times. It's 7 times. So that's the simplicity of it. You get a customer, or you get a brand partner, or you get a not interested. Okay, that's the game. So there's some quantity of leads that every salesperson has to do in order to finally get a customer. Okay, in the real estate world, 17 people have to cross the threshold of a house before that gets sold. Okay, 17 leads must come through there. Well, how many didn't show up? Right? That's a part of it. But you have to have 17 come across and see the presentation. So in our world, we're showing people the drops, right? We're posting twice a day. That's the concept that we're doing, and it's brilliant. And there's a quantity that you've got to go through before somebody becomes interested. All right. So this right here is the only column in our compensation plan that you get paid. In other words, you don't get paid for following up. You don't get paid for a presentation. You don't get paid for setting appointments. You only get paid when you get a customer or a brand partner. All right. And so then there's that not interested for now column. And so all those leads move across that pipeline. In its simplicity, put a person in front of a presentation, repeat. You can do that with drama or no drama. I choose no drama. I just do quantity. Okay. I started out where I would have to put 22 leads in front of a video in order to get 1. That's where it started out. I had no results. I was showing up dressed like a tree, meaning camouflage clothing. I was selling skincare, not my ideal. You get the idea on this. Okay. I didn't have skill sets yet. I didn't have any results yet. And so everybody starts off in the same category where you say, I don't know where to get leads. I don't know this. I don't know that. Right? Just keep penetrating in. Just keep on warm outreach, cold outreach, post content, and advertise. And then at some point, you're going to get a customer or a brand partner. And then you get a little bit of results and a little bit more and a little bit more. You've got to be patient to go through that journey. Okay. So then once you have results, now you have a little bit more authority. And that is where you start growing faster. So everybody has to go through it. There's nobody who skips over that step. You have to always do this. Okay. So the pipeline contains all the factors. What you see right there, this is our game. Okay. So if we're playing chess, we're on a chessboard. If we're playing football, we're on a football field. If we're playing tennis, we're on a court. This is our playing field right here. This is how the whole game is played. And it's not just acquisition. Okay. Every single organization in the world has to do this pipeline. Individuals, how did you get a spouse? You had to do the pipeline. How does a college get athletes? Well, they have to go out and recruit them. Okay. If they want people to come to their college, they have to do the pipeline. If a politician wants votes, they have to do the pipeline. Okay. So every single person in organization has to do the pipeline anyway. All right. So why would it be network marketing versus something else? Okay, so let's say Procter & Gamble. Let's say real estate. I'm going to show you a comparison because this is what differentiates. I'm going to pause just a second. So what has been removed from education is the skill to evaluate anything. Okay, so they've ripped that apart. Inside your brain, all you have is data. Okay, and how you evaluate things is going to be whether you're successful or not. And a lot of times people go back to that, what I talk about, where it's the preponderance of agreement or it is authority. And what I'm going to show you here is how you differentiate data from senior data. A senior data is bigger, it's more important, and people can't identify that. And so I'm going to show this to you. Okay, so this will differentiate other forms of acquisition, affiliate marketing, influencer marketing, side hustles, jobs, and so forth. Okay, so this is what the real estate world looks like. A real estate agent, all right, makes $225,000 home is average. And when they sell one, they get $5,000 in commission. If they sell 10 homes, they're going to make $50,000 a year. If they sell 20 homes, they're going to make $100,000 a year. All right. And then they're going to start all over in January the 1st because they are not consumable. Houses aren't consumable. And so where we have the drops, they're consumable. Okay. Monthly, they're consumable. Okay. So let me walk you through the pipeline activity in real estate. The average 17 showings, they have to cross that threshold of the door. One sold home. Well, it takes 31 leads across the pipeline in order to get 17 to show up. That's to sell one home. You have to have 310 leads, 310 leads to sell 10 homes. So you make $50,000. 620 leads to make $100,000. If you want to make good money, $1 million, then you're going to have to times 10 that. So that's 6,200 leads across the pipeline. Okay. That's their world. Now let me do a comparison. Partner Co. I got 40 customers that turned into 36,900 customers. That's a 92,000% exponential factor. Exponential factor is the senior datum. When you compare anything at all, nothing compares to network marketing. Nothing. because of this exponential factor. I don't hear anybody out there talking about it. And that's why I said that people have lost the ability to evaluate, right? I got 129 brand partners that turned into 41,000. That's a 32,000% exponential factor. So people talk about compound interest. Yeah, it's one of the greatest wonders of the world. That is compound. That's not compound. That's exponential. Okay. And it compounds year over year because we have consumable products. You're not going to keep all of them, but it's going to compound. Okay. So most of the time when I'm talking to prospects or something like that, they say, I don't have time. Well, you see that little dog right there? It's got a leash tied to a plastic bottle, and he thinks that he can't move. And that is the idea that traps a person. Time. I don't have time to work a business that's going to give me an exponential factor. That's stupidity. Okay. So let me just give you a little bit of a math here. So with those 41,000 people, okay. So if in Partner Co, if they only worked, all the people, 41,000 people, if they only work 1 hour in a year, I didn't say 1 hour a day for a year, I said 1 hour a year. I'm being paid on 41,000 hours. The average person, if they didn't sleep, only has 8,700 hours in a year. You get the idea. Of course, you don't have time because you're exchanging time for money. You've got to get out of that scenario and you've got to get into the exponential factor. That is the biggest advantage of network marketing, okay? And also, people who think that they are the King Hut, no, my team covers all my faults. Todd is a far better presenter than I am. Susan Cameron is a far better closer than I am. In other words, my team is better than I am. Okay, you got to get that idea and embrace it and love it. Okay. Okay, so let me do some comparisons. So that's the senior datum. Okay, comparisons. This differentiates. So real estate agents, 11 times more people in Partner Co. will earn $100,000 than in real estate. 11 times more. Actors and entertainers, 14 times more people will earn $100,000 in Partner Co. compared to actors and entertainers. YouTube influencers, you know those people who are cutting up network marketing? 79 times more people will earn $100,000 in Partner Co. compared to YouTube influencers. Amazon sellers, 2 times more people will earn $100,000. But you are not, in this scenario, you don't own the customer. You're the manufacturer in that operation. And so you are that. It's a different business model, but a lot of people do Amazon sellers, but they're cutting the little guy out now. Okay. And this is my income disclaimer. Okay. So $150,000 a month, you know, like my life. So for 36 years, I have had a high 6 to 7 figure income. In 18 of those years, I did nothing at all with network marketing. So when you get this idea and you compare it, network marketing wins every time, right? And by the way, when I say Partner Co. compensation compared, I mean it because the compensation plan is far superior than any other network marketing company. I'm going to show that to you. I want to run real quick through here because we have a purpose here. So it's not just business, it's a purpose, what we're doing here. And the biggest trend on planet Earth is not AI. The biggest trend on Earth is nutritional deficiencies and too many toxins, okay? And so every single species on Earth is somewhere on this spectrum, all right? So right here is death. You don't want to be here. Just before that, you'll notice chronic disease. Before that, it's chronic issues. Before that, you've got body problems, sick occasionally, and then there's not sick. You got low energy, just inside that, right? Well, people think if I'm not sick, then I'm healthy. No, you're at the edge of sick. Okay. So toxicity and nutritional deficiencies is what causes all of this. Toxicity. What is it? Toxins in our air, water, and so forth. Okay. And nutritional deficiencies, you're not eating the right stuff. That's all. All right. So there's a whole nother spectrum over here on the right. So you want to be in that high level vitality, strong effort, high energy with enthusiasm all the time. That's where you want to live. And the way that you do that is low toxins and optimum nutrition. Right. So, all right, I'm just going to run through real quick here. So pesticides are sprayed on our food, but it's also in the air. And then there's chemical trails that are sprayed in our sky. And by the way, if you think that's a conspiracy theory, Florida just made that a felony. Okay, Tennessee has adopted a similar plan, as well as Maine. And so there's 50,000% increase in aluminum pollution since 2006. And it's because of what's being sprayed in the air. And so I always like to think about it from the standpoint of what did my food eat? All right. And so it's GMO corn is what most of the animals are eating. And that's cows, that's chickens, that's fish. Okay. And it's soy, and it's genetically modified soy. So you have to look at what your food eats in order to be healthy. All right. And don't eat those things. Every single thing that manufacturers do, it ends up in our drinking water. Okay, so I always go to Home Depot and I look at all the shelves of the paint and all the shelves of this and all of that, and I go, oh, that's in my drinking water. So Restorex, I've got it over there on my counter. Restorex is what I consume every single morning, right? And then here are nutritional deficiencies, and it's very substantial. Scientists can create any disease by just withholding one of these nutrients. They can create any disease they want. Well, people are basically doing that to themselves. It's not a scientist withdrawing it, it's you not consuming it. Okay. And so what is the campaign that everybody bought into? Cheap. Cheap is the campaign. All right. It's inexpensive. It doesn't have substance inside that food. It doesn't have vitamins, minerals inside that food. Same thing with personal care. Okay. And so we are in the space that is the biggest trend on earth. It really is, because 82% are either overweight, obese, or extremely obese. 82% of the US population. Okay. And so people say to me, well, weight loss is a competitive space. And I'm like, well, evidently not, because they've not solved the problem, but we are. Okay. And so the consequences of being overweight, people who have overweight or obesity compared to those with healthy weight are at increased risk for many serious diseases. All right. We just start off with number one, all cause of death. Okay. So we know this. But our purpose in Partner Co., our focus is on weight loss, and we do it better than anything I've ever seen. So now I'm going to hop in, and I'm just going to walk through real quick of why I'm in Partner Co. Number one, if I want to build a big business, I want as much of Earth as I can capture. Okay, and so this right here is the top 10 network marketing countries, United States, Korea. We're in all of these except Brazil. All right. And we're opening up a market that you've pretty soon here that is quite substantial, probably bigger than the United States. Okay. So we are debt-free, $350 million plus company. Okay. So that's very stable, and it's big, but it can grow a lot bigger, like $10 billion in sales. Okay. So we've got that advanced. We pay the most to brand partners. Okay, so this is a lineup of the percentage of the pie. So think of a pizza, right? And what PartnerCo did is they're gonna cut that pizza in half and say we're gonna share half of all of the profits with you. That's a true partnership. Okay, so Mirinda, they were purchased in, and they are now in PartnerCo. Okay, so then you got LifeVantage, and you got USANA, and you got New Skin. That was my company first, my first company, Zango, and so forth. Okay, notice that that's 43%. It's up in the higher ranks. I'm going to show you something in a minute that'll knock your socks off. And so percentage-wise of the pie, we pay the most. Okay. I want you to look over here in this yellow area. It's very important, okay? Because this is the model in a spreadsheet that we created to compare. And what this means is that this is the United States market, personally sponsored. You're going to sponsor 2. The volume that you're going to consume or sell is going to be 100 points of volume each month. You enrolled on the average, which is the $500 pack. In other words, you got products in order to try and test of the business you want to start. And then that is going to duplicate. 2 people get 2 people that get 2 people, and so on, 15 levels deep. Okay, that is the model. And so we're comparing compensation plans of all network marketing companies. So we've got a total of 32,000 people on our team, a total volume of 9.8 million. Don't forget 9.8 million, okay? All right, so here's PartnerCo. The main column that you want to be looking at is, or the row is this one right here, okay? Total commissions paid out to your team. Remember, you got 32,000 people in your team, all right? PartnerCo is going to pay out 7.6 million on 9.8 million. Look at New Skin. The same team, 32,000 people. New Skin is going to pay out 1.1 million or 1.2 million on 9.8 million. Compare that. You see that? That is substantial. So why, what, how? I don't get it, Tim. I know you don't get it. It doesn't make any sense. What they're doing is that they are taking that volume. Okay, we're paying out 7.6. They're paying out 1.1. They're taking the volume that's in your team and they're paying it to people who they call blue diamonds. All right, and that is people who have got 12 across instead of 2 across. And so that's how that compensation plan works. So each one of these, as you go through here, they are taking your volume and paying it elsewhere. They're paying it to themselves as a company, or they're paying it to other teams. All right, there are sneaky things that go on in this industry. All right, well, all industries. Okay, so then there's I've got a whole lot of these. I think there's 40 different comp plan companies that we've compared. And so you can just go through here and you can see it, right? It's substantial. I would not want to compete. If I were in network marketing and I wasn't in PartnerCo, I would hide. I would hope nobody ever showed this. And so you get the advantage of it. Okay, so the hook product that we've got, the Sunrise, is the best I've ever seen. Okay, it sells. It just sells and it works. Okay, high customer to brand partner ratio. What that means is that we are not building people. We are getting customers and building people. Our customer ratio is very, very high. 8 to 10 is the average. In other words, each person who is a brand partner gets 8 to 10 customers. Why is it 8 to 10 in a ratio? Some countries have a higher ratio, and that's why it's 8 to 10. Proven system of growth. I didn't create it. Todd recognized it. and Todd and Ashley, and then they facilitated expanding that and had done a substantial job of that. 454,000 title advancements. That blows the socks off of every company I've ever seen. Top leaders in alignment, never seen that in my lifetime. And it's great that we have it here. Bill of Rights, that is the reason I came back into the industry. Okay, the Bill of Rights. If you don't know what it is, talk to people in your upline and so forth. It basically means that that the company has a judicial system to where there's a balance of power. And I had begged for these things across, because everybody would reach out to me if they were terminated in a company and so forth. And so that is a substantial thing to me, and it's the reason I came back into the industry. Okay, so in conclusion, okay, warm outreach, cold outreach, post content, advertise. You put them in front of a presentation. All right, we've got the very best marketer in the network marketing industry in PartnerCo. Okay, so the guy just creates amazing content for us, right? So you can put them in front of that. I particularly like to put Julie Park in front of it, in front of prospects, because she is the epitome of a person who has completely transformed their body. And that confidence that they have now, it just shows, okay? And so, so however you want to do it, so when you're posting 9 and 3, that is what I prefer myself. And there's some quantity of leads. You just keep posting and posting and posting, and you're getting more and more and more. The average Instagram account is 350 people. All right, so Facebook will show people that aren't your friends as well. Okay, so and then the strategy of building, it's very easy. You got sales team 1, you got sales team 2. What you're looking for are people who will post 9 and 3, because that's movement across the pipeline. And if they'll consistently do that, if you get 10 people on this side, sorry, you get 10 on this side and 10 on this side, that is how you maximize the compensation plan and get to 13,304 points of volume on 2 sides. And then that is going to pay you $2,000 a week. And if you maintain that for 52 weeks, that's $160,000 a year. You can go full time and then start really playing the game all out. So I had a dream that I wanted a family. I got a family, okay? And it was network marketing that got me there, all right? This is not a Photoshop. This is at Bear Claw Resort, not resort, it's a Sundance Mountain Resort, but that's the top of the mountain at Bear Claw. And that is my wife. She's not a model. It's my wife. We live on a farm. That's not Photoshopped. That's Samson, or Solomon and Samson. And that guy right there traps beaver on our property. So I wanted a farm. Why did I want a farm? I wanted my boys to know where food comes from, because it doesn't come from a grocery store. It comes from serving the soil and serving the animal. And so once they get that idea, then now they can evaluate food and find that senior data in food. And so, I'm here to tell you that you can, all your dreams can come true here, is what I'm telling you.